Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Carshénah with versefilmsproductions, and this is SCREAMTOBER. I'll be doing a video a day for 31 days up into Halloween, so let's get started. Welcome to versefilmsproductions' annual SCREAMTOBER here on our horror channel. I'm your host, Carshénah, and I've got 31 days to get you in the mood for Halloween. Join me as I share a video a day with a new theme each week that you will find scary, haunting, and sometimes just plain fun. Let's get into it. Creature from the Black Lagoon, 1954. A strange prehistoric beast lurks in the depths of the Amazonian jungle. A group of scientists try to capture the animal and bring it back to civilization for study. You can find it on Amazon Prime to buy or rent. And also, while you're at it, Amazon Prime has other Universal monster movies from that era that can be screened for free. Out of Universal Pictures, Creature from the Black Lagoon is directed by Jack Arnold and stars Richard Carlson, Julia Adams, Richard Denning, Antonio Moreno, and Whit Bissell. The eponymous creature was played by Ben Chapman on land and Rico Browning for the underwater scenes. The cinematography is by William E. Snyder, and the score is composed by a trio of men: Henry Mancini, Hans J. Salter, and Herman Stein. The story sees a scientific expedition at the top end of the Amazon encounter a Devonian period amphibious creature. As the creature starts to defend its turf by attacking members of the expedition, infighting begins to take a hold as the men argue about the best course of action to take. Should it be killed or should it be captured for scientific research? Either way, they need to act fast as the creature has taken a fancy to Kay, the sole female member of the expedition group. One of the better creature features that surfaced in the 1950s, Creature from the Black Lagoon was one of the films made as part of the 3D craze that filtered out of Hollywood in 1953 and 54. However, unlike many of those films that were made in the format over those 2 years, this one has rightly managed to break away from its gimmicky beginnings to become regarded as a genre classic. The amount of sympathy garnered for Gill-Man is helped enormously by the illogical actions of the humans, who in turn go diving and swimming where legend has it, men get eaten. This, coupled with their bickering about pro-science or trophy hunting, makes it easy to side with the amphibious one. It turns out that this creature has been living in the lagoon for millions of years without any contact with the outside world. But now that his domain has been invaded and disturbed, he's out for blood and won't stop until all those who trespassed in his kingdom, the Black Lagoon, are eliminated. The Gill-Man at first is a bit confused about what's happening and just goes out in the water to observe what the humans are doing. When it becomes obvious that they're out to get him, dead or alive, and bring him back to civilization as the scientific find of the century, he goes bananas and sets out to attack and kill everyone on board the science ship Rita. The Gill-Man has just one weakness. He gets distracted by the beautiful assistant of Dr. Williams K, played by Julie Adams, whom the Gill-Man, or creature, wants to keep alive all for himself as a playmate and also as a mate itself. It also helps that the film is pretty brisk and only runs for 80 minutes. There's no lag or pointless filler. Too many similar films labor until the monster shows up, and then all of Hades breaks loose. But under Arnold's astute direction, he also directed It Came from Outer Space and The Incredible Shrinking Man. His atmosphere and unease is built up by ominous talk and sightings of the Black Lagoon, and only initial glimpses of the creature's scaly webbed claw, accompanied by the attention-grabbing theme music. And when the creature finally reveals itself, it doesn't disappoint, for it is an impressive creation. A half-man, half-fish creature covered in scales, resplendent with gills and with cold, dark, featureless eyes. It also has great characteristics with a distinctive swimming style in the water and a lumbering Frankenstein-ish thing going on when on the land. A definitive monster that would be merchandised forever after. The creature, Jack Arnold suggested that the design of the Gill-Man suit be based on the graceful form of the Motion Picture Academy's Oscar statuette, but it was quickly scrapped. Today, the creature from the Black Lagoon is considered a classic. The film itself has become a cliche for the man in a rubber suit monster movie, and the Gill-Man is now included in the pantheon of classic movie monsters along with Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. Here are 7 trivia facts about the film. Forrest J. Ackerman, a horror and science fiction writer for Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, bought the mask and claws of the creature's costume from a young man who had once used them as a Halloween costume. The costume pieces were discarded by Universal after production had finished on the 3 films, Creature from the Black Lagoon and its 2 sequels, and were later recovered from the studio's dumpster by a janitor who thought the ensemble would make a good Halloween costume for his son. Other costume pieces were recently sold at auction by Bud Westmore, who was an assistant to Millicent Patrick, the original designer of the costume. The movie was filmed at Wakulla Springs, Florida, just south of Tallahassee. Wakulla Springs is noted for its crystal clear water. Some of the set still remains and can be seen from the guided tour boat. The underwater scenes from Airport 77 were also filmed at Wakulla Springs. Rico Browning, a professional diver and swimmer, was required to hold his breath for up to 4 minutes at a time for his underwater role as the Gill-Man. The director's logic was that the air would have to travel through the monster's gills, and thus air bubbles from his mouth or nose must not be seen. Thus, the costume was designed without an air tank. In the subsequent films, this detail was ignored and air can be seen emanating from the top of the creature's head. 2 different stuntmen were used to portray the creature, and therefore 2 different suits were used in the movie. Rico Browning played the creature when it was in the water and wore a lighter suit. Ben Chapman played the creature when it was out of the water with a darker suit. Rico Browning and Ben Chapman never met during the making of the film. Browning's underwater scenes were filmed in Florida and Chapman's scenes were filmed in California. They didn't meet until they both attended a convention in Florida 20 years later. Millicent Patrick created the design of the creature, although Bud Westmore, who was the head of Universal's makeup department at the time, would take credit publicly for the creature's design. Yet another case of women not getting the credit they so rightfully deserve in the industry. Director Jack Arnold claimed that his main goal in the making of this film was to create a sense of dread. Arnold said, quote, "It plays upon a basic fear that people have about what might be lurking below the surface of any body of water. You know the feeling when you are swimming and something brushes your legs down there. It scares the hell out of you if you don't know what it is. It's the fear of the unknown. I decided to exploit this fear as much as possible." End quote. So if you like this type of monster movie, check out Creature from the Black Lagoon. It will sure scare you the next time you decide to go for a swim.